As I said, the House will now go into committee on the bills. The House is now resumed. We now go to committee on bills. Yes, we can start. The House is now in committee. With the leave of the House, you may assume that, as usual, we should authorize the Honorable Attorney General to correct minor errors and such alike in these bills. Would the clerk please state the bill and read the clauses?
The Parliamentary Pensions Amendment Bill 2016, Clause 1, short title. Clause 2, amendment of Section 20 of the Parliamentary Pension Law 2010 revision, eligibility, parliamentary pension.
The question is that clauses 1 and 2 do stand part of the bill. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. Clause 1 and 2 stands part of the bill.
A bill for a law to amend the Parliamentary Pensions Law 2010 revision to vary the eligibility criteria for the payment of a parliamentary pension to former members of the Legislative Assembly who are otherwise ineligible to receive the pension, and to make provision for incidental and connected matters.
The question is that the title do stand part of the bill. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. The title stands part of the bill.
The Proceeds of Crime Amendment Bill 2016, Clause 1, short title. Clause 2, amendment of Section 2 of the Proceeds of Crime Law 2014 revision, interpretation. Clause 3, amendment of Section 4, powers, functions, and duties of Financial Reporting Authority. Clause 4, amendment of Section 5, Anti-Money Laundering Steering Group. Clause 5, amendment of Section 45, restraint orders. Clause 6, amendment of section 136, failure to disclose. Clause 7, amendment to section 138, disclosure by the Financial Reporting Authority. Clause 8, amendment of section 145, regulations. Clause 9, amendment of Schedule 4, regulated sector. Clause 10, insertion of Schedule 6, list of activities falling within the definition of relevant financial business. Clause 11, provision for commencement of section 45, restraint orders.
The question is that clauses 1 through 11 do stand part of the bill. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. Clauses 1 through 11 do stand part of the bill.
A bill for a law to amend the Proceeds of Crime 2014 revision to make changes necessary for the compliance with international standards relating to the prevention of money laundering, terrorism financing, and proliferation financing, and to provide for incidental and connected purposes.
The question is that the title do stand part of the bill. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. The title stands part of the bill.
The Public Service Management the Public Service Management Amendment Bill 2016. Clause 1, short title and commencement. Clause 2, amendment of Section 2 of the Public Service Management Law 2013 revision, definitions and interpretation. Clause 3, amendment of Section 9, appointment of official members. Clause 4, insertion of Section 20A, transfer of employees to facilitate succession planning. Clause 5, amendment of Section 26, procedure for appointing chief officers of ministries and portfolios. Clause 6, amendment of Section 41, procedures and requirements for appointment. Clause 7, amendment of Section 42, basis for employment of staff.
The question is that clauses 1 through 7 do stand part of the bill. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. Clauses 1 through 7 stands part of the bill.
New Clause 8, amendment of Section 21 of the Police Law 2014 revision.
I've received notice of the amendment. I've given the member leave to bring the amendment. Call on the minister to.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In accordance with the provision of Standing Order 52(1) and 2, I, the Deputy Governor, give notice to move the following amendment to the Public Service Management Amendment Bill 2016, that the bill be amended by inserting after Clause 7 the following clause. The Police Law 2014 revision is amended in Section 21 as follows, by repealing Section 1 and substituting the following subsection. 1. A police officer who has attained the age of 65 years shall be retired without prejudice and may, in special circumstances, and for such temporary periods, be accepted for such service as may be fixed by contract. However, a police officer of the rank of inspector above who has attained the age of 60 years shall be retired without prejudice unless the officer successfully completes a fitness and medical test immediately prior to attaining that age. And B, by repealing subsection 7 and substituting the following subsection. 7. The provisions of this section shall not apply to a police officer appointed prior to the date of the commencement of this law unless the police officer elects to have those provisions apply. And if the police officer does not so elect, on and after that date, the provision of Section 20 of the Police Law 2006 revision shall continue to apply to that police officer as if this section had not come into force.
The amendment has been duly moved. Does any member wish to speak thereto?
Mr. Speaker, just to say that after we had published this public service amendment to the public service management law, we received representations from police officers who wanted to also have the ability to work to age 65, and we agreed. So rather than having to wait for a few more months, we have found a way where we can insert this amendment into this bill, and it will allow police officers to elect to move to age 65 if they want to, or to retire early, along the same provisions as they had before. So we are bringing the police, Royal Cayman Police Service in line with what's happening in the civil service.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Member from East End.
Mr. Chairman, I see what we're trying to do here, but which law supersedes which? The police law or this? Because the police law has provisions in there that is completely different from this.
Mr. Chair,
Honorable Attorney General.
that is what is, well, just to clarify for the honorable member, the current retirement age provision is in the police law. This is a bill that is being moved in the public service management law to repeal that provision in effect in the police law. So when the law revision exercise is completed for the police law, this provision will be lifted and put in the police law. So, for example, in the 2016 revision of the police law will contain these words, when the law is revised.
Mr. Chairman, how do you, God forbid, anyone even think I'm a lawyer, or a draft person for that matter, but how can you repeal one law through another law? It does happen?
You can use the UK, just a minute, you can use the UK Crime and Justice Act to repeal and amend the Police and Evidence Act base. That's what they do in legislation all the time. All the time, when you do the revision, you include the language in it, and it read as if it was done.
Okay, and that may be so. I can't recall us ever doing it here, but maybe I'm mistaken in that regard. But does this have effect until that is repealed? The passage of this law will be effective immediately in the police law as well.
Once this amendment comes into effect, once this is gazetted, assented and gazetted, takes effect, and the police law will be read accordingly.
Mr. Chair, I'm told that I may have made an error in reading um, the clause 8.1. So if you don't mind, I would just read that again, just to be very certain.
Please do.
A police officer who has attained the age of 65 years shall be retired without prejudice and may, in special circumstances and for such temporary periods, be accepted for such service as may be fixed by contract. However, a police officer of the rank of inspector or below who has attained the age of 60 years shall be retired without prejudice unless the officer successfully completes a fitness and medical test immediately prior to attaining that age. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that's what I was going to ask about it.
Member from East End.
Does it mean that over 65 they can still work?
Honorable Attorney General. Member from East End.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to create any controversy here, but I read this to say that a police officer who has attained the age of 65 years shall be retired without prejudice and may, in special circumstances and for such temporary periods, be accepted for such service as may be fixed by contract. So after 65, you can still work. But at 60, to get to 65, the police officer of the rank of inspector or below, to get to 65, you got to pass a fitness test.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
But at 65, you don't have to, because you did it 5 years ago.
Well, I would imagine as a 65, you would have to come back subject to medical, but that's all discretionary now. So
But-
it's purely contractual.
And I
Member
don't
from
have the
East End.
benefit of the police law here, but who's a police officer then? The definition of police officer, is that not below the rank of inspector?
Not following you.
Okay. A police officer who has attained the age of 65
And is
shall be retired without prejudice and may. Then, further on, a police officer of the rank of inspector below who has attained the age of 60 years shall be retired without prejudice unless the officer successfully completes a fitness and medical test. Is that first instance where that police officer is used here, the police officer is used, is that above inspector? Because remember, they are what's it called? Gazetted officers.
well, we don't use that, Mrs. Chair, through you.
Honorable Attorney General.
We don't use that nomenclature anymore, gazetted or non-gazetted officers. It is not used anymore. That was discontinued in the 2010 amendment. So what you now have there is that you have inspector and whatever it is. What that is saying there is that if you get to age 60, in order to progress to 65, if you are an inspector below, you have to pass a fitness test. Because according to the police, these are people who are operational officers, mostly operational officers. And it would have been assumed that the wear and tear and all of that would have taken its toll at that.
But do they qualify then at 65 to continue, or that's precisely where I'm going. That is just for people above inspector because their office or administrative or whatever.
Not following you. If who's qualified?
We are defining below inspector.
Yeah.
Inspector and below because of the physical requirements
That's right.
upon them you said.
That's right.
I'm asking what what about those above inspector? Because you got chief inspector, commissioner of police, deputy.
They
Which
still,
are-
they still fit into the generic term of police officers, as officers, if that's what you're asking, if I understand you correctly.
Yeah, but
So everybody's referred to as officer.
so why are we defining inspector below them to do it at 60?
Because the rank.
That's
Whether,
what I'm asking.
whether you progress beyond 60, it depends on the fitness test, depends on your rank. So if I'm understanding you correctly, chief inspector, superintendent, assistant commissioner does not have to do the fitness test, if that's what you're asking.
They don't have to?
The fitness,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh,
But we don't use the term, but we don't use the term
gazetted.
gazetted or non-gazetted anymore. It's not in the law anymore since 2010. That was one of the complaints that they had.
But we're still differentiating between them here now too.
In terms of rank, yes, but using different nomenclature.
The question is that the amendment stand part of the clause. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. The amendment stands part of the clause. The question now is that clause 8, as amended, stand part of the bill. The question is that clause 8, as amended, stand part of the bill. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. The clause as amended stands part of the bill.
A bill for a law to amend the Public Service Management Law 2013 revision to enable the reappointment of civil servants who have attained the age of 65, to facilitate a structured approach to succession planning by the transfer of civil servants to other positions in the civil service, and for incidental and connected purposes.
Question is that the title do stand part of the bill. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Ayes have it. The title stands part of the bill.
The Public Service Pension Amendment Bill 2016, Clause 1, short title and commencement. Clause 2, amendment of Section 3 of the Public Service Pension Law 2013 revision, definitions. Clause 3, repeal and substitution of Section 23, participation upon re-employment after retirement. Clause 4, amendment of Section 38, maximum pensions.
The question is that clauses 1 through 4 do stand part of the bill. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. Clauses 1 through 4 stands part of the bill.
A bill for a law to amend the Public Service Pension Law 2013 revision to increase the normal retirement age from 60 to 65 in relation to employees in the service and for incidental and connected purposes.
The question is that the title do stand part of the bill. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. The title stands part of the bill.
The Confidential Information Disclosure Bill 2016, Clause 1, short title. Clause 2, interpretation. Clause 3, disclosure of confidential information. Clause 4, evidence of confidential information directions. Clause 5, Rules Committee to make rules for procedure. Clause 6, repeal.
Question is that clauses 1 through 6 do stand part of the bill. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. Clauses 1 through 6 stands part of the bill.
A bill for a law to appeal the confidential relationship preservation law 2015 revision to provide for the circumstances under which confidential information may be disclosed and to provide for incidental and connected purposes.
The question is that the title do stand part of the bill. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. The title stands part of the bill. The question is that the bills be reported to the House. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. The bills will accordingly be reported to the House. The House will now resume. The Honorable House now resumes. Please be seated.
Report on bills. The Parliamentary Pension Amendment Bill 2016.
Honorable Deputy Governor.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I beg to report to the Honorable House that a bill entitled the Parliamentary Pension Amendment Bill was considered by a committee of the whole House and passed without amendment.
The bill has been duly reported and is set down for third reading.
The Proceeds of Crime Amendment Bill 2016.
The Honorable Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg leave of the House to report that a bill with a short title, The Proceeds of Crime Amendment Bill 2016. Report that the bill was considered by a committee of the whole House and passed without amendment.
The bill has been duly reported and is set down for third reading.
The Public Service Management Amendment Bill 2016.
The Honorable Deputy Governor.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I beg to report that a bill shortly entitled the Public Service Management Amendment Bill 2016 was considered by a committee of the whole House and passed with one amendment.
The bill has been duly reported and is set down for third reading.
The Public Service Pensions Amendment Bill 2016.
The Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to report to this Honorable House that a bill shortly entitled the Public Service Pension Amendments Bill 2016 was considered by a committee of the whole House and passed without amendment.
The bill has been duly reported and is now set down for third reading.
The Confidential Information Disclosure Bill 2016.
Honorable Minister of Financial Services.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I am to report that a bill shortly entitled the Confidential Information Disclosure Bill 2016 was considered by a committee of this whole House and passed without amendment.
The bill has been duly reported and is set down for third reading. Madam Clerk.
Third readings.
Like the suspension of standing order number 47 to enable the bills to be read a third time in a sitting. Suspend standing order 47.
I move the suspension of Standing Order 47.
The question is that standing order 47 now be suspended to enable the bills to be read a third time in the same sitting. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it.
Parliamentary Pensions Amendment Bill 2016.
The Honorable Deputy Governor.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to report that a bill shortly entitled the Parliamentary Pension Amendment Bill be given a third reading and passed.
The question is that a bill shortly entitled the Parliamentary Pensions Amendment Bill 2016 be given a third reading and passed. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it.
The Proceeds of Crime Amendment Bill 2016.
Honorable Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the bill short title, the Proceeds of Crime Amendment Bill 2016, be given a third reading and passed.
The question is that a bill shortly entitled the Proceeds of Crime Amendment Bill 2016 be given a third reading and pass. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. Honorable Deputy Governor.
The Public Service Management Amendment Bill 2016.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that a bill shortly entitled the Public Service Management Amendment Bill 2016 be given a third reading and passed.
The question is that a bill shortly entitled the Public Service Management Amendment Bill 2016 be given a third reading and pass. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it.
The Public Service Pensions Amendment Bill 2016.
Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that a bill shortly entitled the Public Service Pension Amendment Bill 2016 be given a third reading and passed.
The question is that a bill shortly entitled the Public Service Pensions Amendment Bill 2016 be given a third reading and passed. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. The Public Service Pension Amendment Bill 2016 has been read a third time and is passed.
The Confidential Information Disclosure Bill 2016.
Honorable Minister of Financial Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that a bill shortly entitled the Confidential Information Disclosure Bill 2016 be given a third reading and passed.
The question is that a bill shortly entitled the Confidential Information Disclosure Bill 2016 be given a third reading and passed. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. The Confidential Information Disclosure Bill 2016 has been read a third time and is passed.
Motions. Government Motion Number 1 of 2016-17, Amendment to the Development Plan 1997, Proposed Rezoning Georgetown Central Block 13D, Parcel 1, and West Bay Beach South Block 13C, Parcel 1, to be moved by the Honorable Minister of Planning, Lands, Agriculture, Housing and Infrastructure.
Honorable Minister of Planning.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under the relevant standing order, I beg to move that this government motion be deferred and carried forward to the next meeting.
The question is that this government motion be carried forward to the next sitting. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it.
Government Motion Number 2 of 2016-17, issuance of a deed of indemnity to the new members of the Board of Directors of the Cayman Islands National Insurance Company, to be moved by the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Development.
Honorable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move Government Motion Number 2, which is captioned the Public Management and Finance Law 2013 Revision, issuance of a deed of indemnity to the new members of the Board of Directors of the Cayman Islands National Insurance Company. Mr. Speaker, if you would allow me, I would just read the motion. Whereas on the 15th of September 2010, via government motion number 6 of 2010-2011, the Legislative Assembly approved the issuance of issuance to existing members of the Board of Directors of the Cayman Islands National Insurance Company a deed of indemnity guarding against the potential liability of members of the board and allowing the company to continue to trade despite the company's difficult financial position. And whereas the same factors and concerns apply to the existing board, the government of the Cayman Islands is therefore desirous of issuing a deed of indemnity to new members of the board as per the attached deed of indemnity. And whereas Section 8 of the Public Management and Finance Law 2013 revision provides that as a general rule, no guarantee may be given by or on behalf of the government unless it has been authorized by a resolution of the Legislative Assembly. Be it now therefore resolved that the Legislative Assembly hereby authorize the issuance to new members of the Board of Directors of the Cayman Islands National Insurance Company of a deed of indemnity guarding against the potential liability of members of the Board of Directors of the Cayman Islands National Insurance Company. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question is that the motion be it now therefore resolved that the Legislative Assembly hereby authorizes the issuance to new members of the Board of Directors of the Cayman Islands National Insurance Company of a deed of indemnity guarding against the potential liability of members of the Board of Directors of the Cayman Islands National Insurance Company. Does the Honourable Minister wish to speak thereto?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to make a contribution to government motion number 2 of 2016-2017, which seeks the approval of a deed of indemnity for the new Board of Directors of the Cayman Islands National Insurance Company, otherwise known as Synico. Pursuant to the Article of Association of Synico, there is an allowance for its Board of Directors to be indemnified. As in years past, this is achieved by issuance of a deed of indemnity to the Board of Directors in consideration of the fact that there is a possibility of personal financial risk against directors. The last deed of indemnity was duly authorized by government motion number 6 of 2010-2011 and approved by the Legislative Assembly on the 15th of September 2010. Section 8 of the Public Management and Finance Law 2013 revision states that except as provided in Section 13, no guarantee may be given by or on behalf of the government unless it has been authorized by a resolution of the Legislative Assembly. An indemnity such as the one being proposed by this motion is a form of guarantee. Accordingly, it requires the approval of the Legislative Assembly in order for the deed of indemnity to be issued. The proposed deed of indemnity is between Her Excellency the Governor of the Cayman Islands on behalf of the Government of the Cayman Islands and the new members of the Board of Directors of Synico. Mr. Speaker, the Government of the Cayman Islands is the sole shareholder of Synico. The deed provides that the government will indemnify the new members of the Board of Directors, individually and collectively, from and against all actions, proceedings, costs, charges, losses, damages, and expenses which the directors may incur or sustain by reason of any acts done in the execution of his or her duty as a director of the company, except any actions, proceedings, costs, charges, losses, damages, and expenses which a director may incur or sustain by or through his or her own gross negligence. The deed of indemnity is effective from the date of the director's appointment and remains in effect until the directors are removed or resign from the company. This motion is of critical importance to permit the new directors of Cineco to function with the same level of protection that past directors have received. A deed of indemnity from government continues to be the preferred and most efficient means to provide directors some level of protection. Mr. Speaker, as we all know, Cineco continues to play a critical and crucial role in the healthcare provision in the Cayman Islands, as one of its major roles fulfills the mandate that all residents of the Cayman Islands are required to have health insurance. The proper management of the company by the board of directors is also essential. In turn, the board of directors must have some level of protection from personal financial risk that may arise from decisions taken in the management of the company. The deed of indemnity that is sought gives such a level of protection. Accordingly, I recommend government motion number 2 of 2016-2017 to all honorable members of the House and ask that they support the motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Does another member wish to speak? Does any other member wish to speak? If not, does the Honorable Minister moving the motion wish to exercise his right of reply?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to thank the honorable members for their tacit support of the motion.
The question is that be it now therefore resolved that the Legislative Assembly hereby authorizes the issuance to the new members of the Board of Directors of the Cayman Islands National Insurance Company of a deed of indemnity guarding against the potential liability of members of the Board of Directors of the Cayman Islands National Insurance Company. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. Government motion number 2, 2016-2017 is duly passed. I now call on the Deputy Premier on the way forward.
Mr. Speaker, could I clear your indulgence just to clarify one matter before the House is adjourned? Me and the...
Go ahead, Minister.
myself and the member for East End have received in unmarked envelopes a petition. We know not from whence it cometh. Neither of us has ever spoken to the person who in the media has been promoting this petition. We have never discussed the petition with anyone. There's no cover letter on the petition. The petition is not in the format that is required by standing orders for any member to act on it. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to record that neither of us have any intention of doing anything with this. It's a petition because there's nothing we can do about it, and I don't want to leave it anything unsaid about it so that somebody can say the cover page, and it says petition stop 3 changes to the national pensions law. Now, the things that he wants to stop, I support, so I guess that's why he hasn't called me. So it's very unlikely that I would be tabling this petition anyway, but I want us to put in the record that we have no intentions of doing anything with it for the reasons I stated earlier, so that nobody can claim that it was presented to the Legislative Assembly and nothing was done about it. It's not in a format that is required by standing orders. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Duly noted, member from North Side. I now call on the Honorable Premier for the winding up or the deferral of the private member motions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move the adjournment of this honorable House. Sine die.
Honorable member from East End.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is a motion, a private member's motion standing in my name, and there has been no indication, despite being asked whether or not I would accept it to another meeting. There is no indication that these will be, my motion will be carried over to another meeting. And if, because I do not wish for this motion to fall away, it has significant importance to this country and the future of this country with regards to access along the beaches, which has been a point of contention in this country for many years. And for those right-of-ways, the indefeasible right-of-ways, particularly along 7 Mile Beach where all the development is happening in my constituency throughout this entire country, Mr. Speaker. So I wish for this motion to be debated in this legislature in order that people understand that this session of the Legislative Assembly tried doing something about it. So my asking that these, if the government is moving the adjournment of this House sine die, they need to commit to these bills that are on these motions that are on the order paper, or we do them now.
Honorable Deputy Premier.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the intention is there are 3 motions here. Private member's motion number 1/2016-2017, brought by the 4th elected member from Bodden Town, and to be seconded by the 5th elected member from Georgetown. The private member's motion 2/2016-2017, brought by elected member from East End, and also private member's motion number 3/2016-2017, brought by the 4th elected member from Bodden Town and your good self, Mr. Speaker, the 1st elected member from Bodden Town. The intention is to move these to the next meeting.
The question is that, Mr. Member from East End, are you comfortable with that?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I believe procedures require that a motion be moved by the government and get an affirmative vote to move these to the next meeting. We cannot just say they're going to be moved without the approval of the House.
Mr. Speaker, I'll repeat again, our intention is to move these to the next meeting. I will leave this to your good self. Whatever procedure we need to do, we are prepared to do that.
Chairman, Mr. Speaker, there has been on different occasions that the government get up here and made these empty promises of moving questions to the next meeting, and they are still outstanding. And we have had many meetings since with this same kind of thing, Therefore, it is, in my view, a requirement for the members of this honorable House to approve or reject moving these motions to another meeting.
I now call on the Deputy Premier for the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move a motion that the three private member motions that we have talked about earlier be moved to the next meeting.
The question is that the three private members' motion be carried forward to the next meeting. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. This House now do stand adjourned, sign a DA.
Now voted on the adjournment. You interrupted it.
I'm notified that I don't have the power to adjourn this House without a motion. This motion is that this House stand adjourned. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Ayes have it. This House now do stand adjourned, sign a DA.